Welcome back. This is now episode 4 of my Cricut Academy, where we go through all things Cricut from the very beginning, like what it does, what it doesn't do, material, supplies that you need, and then how to get in and start working Cricut Design Space and start making your own projects. If you haven't tuned in already, please go watch episodes 1, 2, and 3. In episode 3, I went over how to download the Cricut Design Space software and how to get in there, and then the very basics. Today, we're going to go back in. We're going to learn how to upload a file into there from Etsy, and then we're going to use that file to make shirts because my girls are going to be flower girls in the wedding this weekend. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and open up Cricut Design Space. This is the opening screen for Design Space. All the same information like I mentioned in last week's video, but we're going to go ahead and make a new project. And we can just do a blank canvas just to keep it simple. So what we're going to do is upload an image that we get from Etsy. Here's the important thing to note about images. When it comes to cutting on the Cricut, what you really want is an SVG file. It stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. And what that means is, if you remember back in the day, like when you had, or just even now, like if you have like a JPEG image or just whatever kind of image, and you want to like maximize it, make it bigger. And as you do, it keeps getting grainy, it keeps getting more and more blurry. And by the time you get to a certain point, like you can't even tell what it is. It's just too blurry. You can't work with those types of files. So what you need is an SVG. SVGs are going to be crisp no matter what because it's scalable. It uses math somehow to determine like what everything should be as you continue to make it bigger or smaller. It can go infinitely big and infinitely small essentially and maintain this like the quality of it. So when it comes to a cutting file on the Cricut, you want to use an SVG file. So when you're searching on Etsy, that's the type of file that you are looking for. So let's go ahead and go to Etsy. I'm going to search because I want an image. So I don't even, I can, design my own thing if I want to, but instead I want to make this very easy for myself. So I'm just going to search Flower Girl SVG. So I know I get exactly the file type that I'm looking for. And there we go. Lots of options right there. It tells you the price. I already looked through earlier and I found the one that I wanted, and I already bought it and downloaded it. So it was this one right here because we had a couple of options. It was only 99 cents. So go ahead and you click it. It's going to open another tab. That's what it did here. You can look at other images. You want to make sure when you click learn about this item, boom, it says right there SVG. It also says PNG. A PNG file you will use for sublimation. So we haven't gone there yet. Like I said, stay away from that, run away. But look specifically that it has that SVG, and it says it a couple of times. And it says here, you will receive the SVG file. Okay, that's what you're looking for. You can also look at the photos from the reviews and see how it came out for other folks. Maybe even get like design ideas of what colors and things you should use. Okay, cool. This is exactly what I want. I'm going to click add to cart. It'll take me to my cart. 99 cents because it's 25% off, and it'll show me my final total there. I can go ahead and proceed to check out like I would anything else I buy online. Now, what you do have to do at that point, after you complete your purchase, which I already have, after you complete your purchase, you're going to want to go back and download the file. So they will send you an email, but I find that sometimes the email doesn't go through immediately. So I just come up here to like where you see where it has your account, you click there, and then you'll see purchases. So click on purchases and scroll down to where that purchase is, and it'll tell you the dates, the amounts. So this is it. Then you want to click over here to download files, and then click this download button. Remember we talked in the last video about making sure you know where your downloads are downloading to, like what file. So I always have my downloads set up to download to my desktop. So that way when I download something from the internet, boom, it's right there. But you can always come up here to see where things downloaded, and there you see it says flowergirl.zip. I can click this little file icon and it'll show me in the file. So see, it says it's in the desktop, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead there. And you see there's my zipped file. Sometimes when you have multiple files in one download, it's going to zip the folder. It just makes it easier to put everything together, and it kind of compresses it. So what you want to do is unzip it by opening the file and then clicking extract all. Go ahead and extract. Again, this is for Windows. If you have a Mac, I'm sorry, that's a little bit different of a process possibly. But okay, so it shows me my file now. So I can go ahead and open that. I can close and actually delete the zipped file because I have the open file now. So once you open this up, it shows you all your different files here. You're going to double click and it's going to show you here under type what file type all of these are. So like this is a JPEG, this is a PNG. Where it says here, this says Chrome HTML document. This is going to be your SVG. I use Google Chrome, so that's why it says that. It might say something different if you use a different internet browser. But then right here in the icon, you're going to see like your internet browser icon. So I can see like my little Chrome circle there. So I know that this is my SVG. To make it easier on myself, though, I can just open up the JPEG or the PNG to see which file this is. Same thing here. I'll come over here. Okay. Here's another one. Because we bought a bundle, that's why there are multiple types here. Oh, yes. The butterfly. Yeah. This is the one, I believe. So number 20. Okay. Number 20 is the one that I want. And remember, I want the SVG file in Design Space. So what I'm going to do now is go into Cricut Design Space. I have my new canvas set up. I'm going to come over here to upload. And I'm going to go to upload image. And it tells you, let's go back. It tells you right here, you can upload a JPEG, a PNG, you can SVG, you can upload all of these file types, but the process is going to look different. SVG is going to be the cleanest, easiest process, especially in comparison to like a JPEG or a PNG. So just know you have those options available, but it's more complicated, and we'll cover that in a later episode, so make sure you subscribe. So go ahead to, shameless plug there, sorry. Make sure you go ahead and upload image and then click browse. And remember, you have to know where your file is saved on your computer. So I'm going to go to desktop and go to Flower Girl. And I know I want number 20. That's the one I want right now. So remember, this is a JPEG and a PNG, and you can hover over and it tells you item type PNG, item type JPEG. I'm going to go to the SVG file. It doesn't say SVG, but I know it because I see that Google Chrome, and when I hover over it says Chrome HTML document. So I'm going to click open. Okay, there's my image. I'm going to click continue. So this is the chance to do some things to it. If you were using one of those other file extensions, this is where you would do it, but we're not doing that. We're keeping it simple. This is your first upload. We're keeping it as simple as can be. Okay, so we're just going to click upload. Okay, there we have it. It's in here. I can get rid of this because I don't need any of their suggestions. I can come over here and it's going to show me all the individual pieces of it. Okay, every letter. Right now it is grouped together so that I can click this and move it around. I can come over here and ungroup it. And so now everything is separate. And so when I click this, it delayed a little bit, but when I click it, I can move each individual thing. Now I know you're probably like horrified. You're like, oh my God, you just messed it up. All you have to do is go to undo, because it happens sometimes. You click something, you're like, oh my God, what did I do? Undo. We love that undo button. You can even undo separating it to begin with. So now we're back to it all being combined. See? So this is great to have it combined if you want to make it bigger, which I do. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember how big a child's shirt is. So this is where templates come into place because, again, I'm making t-shirts for my daughters. So I'm going to go to templates, click t-shirt, and I want to do, I have one child small, one child medium. So let's just go with the medium since that's the bigger shirt. And it just gives me this guide. So then I can take my design. It gives me this guide of what size it should kind of be, what's going to look good. If I want to be a little extra, I can make it a little bit bigger and not go just by what they say. That's like for the back. So I had the option. I could have put this on the back and then on the front just put the little one that said Flower Girl. I know that's kind of like the style now, but I'm old and I like this. I like it to be loud and up front. And it's going to be chilly. They'll probably wear a jacket anyway, so they're not going to see the back. Okay, so since one is small and one is medium, maybe I'll go around that size. And it's still bold enough. All right, so that's the size I need. After that, I don't have to touch the size anymore. And I can go ahead and get rid of the template because I don't need it. So I can just come here. I can either just turn it off, like by hiding it, or I can just delete it altogether. And that's what I'm going to do because I know I don't need it. I'm going to maximize it so I can see it a little bit better because it was at 33%. Now it's at 50. 75 is good, so I can see a little bit better. Just bring it up here. Okay, so now I want to change the colors to colors that I want. I do like I mean, this does look really good. I'm not going to lie. But I'm going to go ahead. So there are a couple ways you can go about this. First, you can click on each one, change the color. Like say you wanted it to be blue, for example. Oh, that was just a little one. Let's say you wanted this to be blue. Okay, you can do that. The easier way is to go over here to color sync. And now my two things that are blue, I changed my mind. I don't want those to be blue. So what I can do is click here and sort of drag and drop it to the color that I want it to be. So now it's orange. Okay. And again, I can undo everything. If only I had that button in real life. So I'm going to take a second and decide exactly what colors do I want for this. Okay, I'm having such a hard time with this because there's so many options. I went to like my bin of HTV or heat transfer vinyl. I'm looking at this, like putting some of this like aqua blue glitter. I don't know if you can see because it's dark in here. It's so early in the morning. The sun's not up yet. So this is like, you see that glitter? I love this color. So on the screen, and then like this pink and purple are a little bit lighter than what was there. So I changed it here to look like that. And I'm like, that looks great. But I feel like it's a bit too focused on that blue. And this is like Flower Girl, so I want it to be maybe not as much blue. Okay. I'm just undoing all the color changes I just did. Maybe I like that. Maybe I'll just stick with that. But I do have a darker purple and pink that kind of fits that color scheme. Gives you that like 70s vibe. And then here's that orange. So I think that would work. I feel like it's a little bit darker than what you see here, but it works. Or I can use the lighter. I can use the lighter, like lavender and pink, light pink, with the orange. Again, the lighting in here is not great right now, but I feel like that still really goes. And it gives it a softer look because it's lighter colors. They're only 4 and 5. They're little girls, you know? So I want that like cutesy, like softer look. Maybe I just answered my own question. I think that's what I'm going to go for. The other option was like this, almost like a magenta glitter. I mean, look at it. It's so cute though. Look at that glitter. And instead of the orange, I was thinking about doing that. Like that kind of color scheme. There's so many options. The lighting's so bad. Decisions. What do I do? Okay, I've made my decision. I want some glitter in there. I want it to be extra girly, and I want it to be age appropriate. And so like those lighter pink and like lavender purple, I think those are gonna work for me. But I'm gonna put in like that darker fuchsia color glitter. So this is what I came up with in here to kind of match it. Because again, if you've seen the earlier episodes, like what you see here, this is just like to visualize. It's not what it's actually going to come out. What's going to come out is what you put into the machine. So I think that's what I'm going to go with because that looks really good. It looks very girly. It has some differentiation in colors and I like the design look of it. And then the butterfly will be glittery too. And I think that'll really pop. So this is what we're going to go with. Everything is still grouped together. So I'm going to go to, well, first of all, let me save this. Save all of this work. I'm going to put Flower Girl shirts. And I'm going to save this to my collection too. save this here to my collection too that says shirts. I just like click that. If I wanted to save it to all of my collections, I could, but I'm just going to save it to shirts. Just make it easier on myself later, and click save. So then I'm going to go to make, but I'm going to go downstairs to where my Cricut is and my heat press. So meet you there. We're all ready to go. So we're going to click make. And now, like I mentioned last time, I'm going to measure how much I need of each color. The other thing, one thing I forgot to do is I'm making 2 shirts. So I can go about it 2 ways. I can either do project copies and put 2 and apply. And it's going to kind of squeeze it all on there. But there's something important that I did not do. And I did it on purpose. So you can see the difference. Okay, so I'm going to go back to 1, apply. Look at how all of the letters and flowers and everything are separate. Do you know how much of a pain it's going to be to apply each of these little sparkles and letters exactly where it needs to be and to do that perfect little cute wave and all of that? Not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Now you're going to save the most amount of material HTV doing it this way, but it's a hot mess. So we're going to click cancel. We're going to go back. And even though this is grouped, that just means I can move it and it's going to stay together. But it doesn't mean that it's grouped on the mats. The easiest way to go about this is to go to color sync, because I want the colors to be attached. Okay? I don't want the other colors to be attached, because for example, I can click on this right now and click attach. It's going to change everything to the same color. That's not what I want. I want to maintain the colors that I have. So I'm going to undo that, right? I can ungroup it and click on all of the individual colors that I want and attach those, or do it this way. But the easier way is just go to color sync, because they're already like sunk by color. So what I want to do is ungroup it first. I can right click and click ungroup. I can do that keyboard shortcut, or I can just come here and click this ungroup button. And now what I want to do is click the ones that I want grouped together and attach those. So we're going to do it by color. I wish Cricut had an easier way to do this, but yeah, here we are. So what I want to do is select all the ones that I need selected. So I'm going to hold down the control key and then click all the ones that I need that are all the same color. Then I can come here and make sure that I got them all. Looks like I do. Okay, at that point, I'm going to right click and click attach. All right, and I'm going to show you what that just did. We're going to go to make, and I'm not done here. We're going to go to make, and you're going to see the difference. So you see the lavender color, everything is separate. The pink, the light pink color, everything is separate. Now let's go to this color. Look at that. You see how everything is grouped exactly where it needs to be? So once I cut it onto Cricut and I weed it out, I'll be able to take that and put it, boom, right on the shirt, and I don't have to arrange anything. The only arranging I have to do is between the colors themselves. So I'm going to click cancel, and I'm going to go back and do the same thing with the other 2 colors. So we're already ungrouped, so that's why I'm able to click on things. So my darker pink colors are already attached, but now I want to go to the other colors. So now on this way, we'll do it this way. This time we'll do it this way. So I'll click on all the lavenders. So I'm going to click on the first one, hit the control button on my keyboard, scroll, and then click everything else that is that color. Okay, and then, oh look, I have a button here. I can just click attach. Okay, and then we can check it again. There we have it. We'll make sure there's no stragglers. Just the baby pink. So let's cancel and go back and do the same thing with baby pink, and you'll see that's all we have left. So it's a little easier now. So click the first one, click control, and attach. So now we have 3 quote unquote attachments. And when I go to make, so let's save it. When I go to make, it'll have everything separated. But before I even do that, what I want to do is highlight this whole thing and then duplicate it, because I'm making 2 shirts and it'll make my life easier. So now when I go to make, let's save it. Now when I go to make, I should have 2 purple sheets, 2 darker pink, and 2 lighter pink. And everything should be set up exactly how I need it. So you'll see, even when you're looking at your mats, there's a very clear visual difference when you have them attached correctly and when you don't. The next important thing that you need to do, because this is HTV or heat transfer vinyl, you have to mirror your image. The reason for that, this one's very clear. Let's look at this HTV. Like this baby pink color, this pink, light pink. The back, it's white. You can't see it, but this part right here is a carrier sheet. This is not actual HTV on the front. This is the back of your actual HTV. This is a carrier sheet on the front. So when you put it through the Cricut and you put it regular and you cut it, and then you go to heat press, what's going to happen is if you cut it just like this, it's going to cut the carrier sheet, or it's not going to cut anything at all, but it's not going to cut your HTV, and then it's not going to go on your shirt. The important thing is to try to understand that concept, because it'll stop you from being confused and making more mistakes later on. So what you want to do is when you attach this onto your cutting mat, you're going to put it face down. Because what you want it to do is cut the back, because this part is the actual HTV. When you weed it out, the carrier sheet is still going to be on there, which is this clear part on front. So this is not your HTV, the front. This is. So you need your HTV to be cut. So that's why you want to put it face down on the cutting mat. And because you're putting it face down on the cutting mat, you want the image to be mirrored. Does that make sense? So whenever you're doing HTV, heat transfer vinyl, you have to mirror your image. And Cricut makes it easy to do so right here. On each one, it says mirror, and you just turn it on. And you'll see how it just flipped. Your letters are flipped over. Okay? What I wish they had was an option here to say mirror all, and then it'll mirror all of your cutting mats here. It does not have that option. Cricut, please make that option. So instead, what do I need to do? Go scroll down on each one and turn on mirror. All 6 times. Okay? And then I want to click back on number 1 so it knows that's the first one I want it to cut. Alright. You can change your material size if you want, but the main thing is look at what you have here. So you'll see I did that in the last video. I'm going to do it a little shorter this time because hopefully you watched that last video. But I'm just looking to see how much, and this is wasteful, so you know, because I'm wasting all this HTV that would be here in the middle. But I need at least 10 inches by 9 inches for both of my purple. 10 by 9. This one, it's like 10 by 9.5, I would say, to be safe. So 10 by 9, 10 by 9.5, and 10 by 9 again for my pinks. Okay, so I'm gonna go cut those. Now I'm going to go ahead and get them attached to my cutting mats. Take off the protective sheet once again. We're starting off with the purple, and I'm checking again on my screen. I know that 10 needs to go on the long end and 9 needs to go this way. So again, this is the front, this is the carrier sheet. I want to turn it to the back, and look, these look the same, so be aware. But the shiny side is going to be your carrier sheet. So put that face down. And again, this is where it comes in handy to have multiple cutting mats, because I can line as many up as possible now and then go wake my girls up and start getting them ready for school. Same thing here. Carrier sheets, flip it over. Carrier sheet, HTV. And look at God, I had exactly 6 cutting mats. God is good all the time. So now I'm ready to go. I'm gonna set the first cutting mat and get going to wake up my daughters. So first I'm going to make sure I click on mat number 1. I always come here and double check that everything is mirrored. Click on each one. Make sure that mirror button is turned on. It looks green. Okay, now go back and click on number 1 because it just makes it easier on myself to start there. And click continue. It's going to make sure that I am connected to the Cricut. I always store all my prepared mats right here in front. Now it's going to ask you for what type of base material you have. I'm using everyday iron-on, except for the pink, it's glitter iron-on, which is a little thicker. And you'll see I have a setting here for that. I have them bookmarked. So this is a case where you're going to have to change your base material as you continue through your mats. But for the first mat, it is everyday iron-on, so I'm going to click that. I like to make sure it cuts through all the way, so I'm going to click on more pressure. Okay, and again, there's nothing I needed in clamp A. Clamp B is your fine point blade, which is already there. And now it's just telling me to hit the load unload button. So I'll put my first mat in, which is purple. Load it up. Once it's ready, this is going to light up. There it is. Let's go. Okay, so now is where I'm going to put the glitter HTV. So I'm going to stop and come over to Cricut Design Space. Make sure it's clicked on here. I'm going to click here and then change it to glitter iron-on. Put it back at more because it is thicker material. So you want to make sure it cuts all the way through, and then that's it. Go right back to putting this one in, loading the mat, and clicking the go button. Okay, so now we're gonna get started weeding. This is the best part because it kind of reveals the final image. So we have all 6 of our sheets here, and I have a regular Cricut weeding tool. I also have this really cool pen weeding tool. I've really gotten into these lately. It gets really precise. Just be careful because it looks like a regular pen. You click it, and I don't know if you could see there, it's a very like fine tip. Looks almost like the lead of like a lead pencil. I poked myself with it one time. Do not recommend. That really hurt. So just be careful, especially if you have any littles around. Then I have here like a weeding collection bin. This is good for like letting go of weeded pieces. You can kind of put it in here and just collect them all in here. I also have a pair of non-stick scissors. This helps if I have to cut around the edge at all because the carrier sheet does stick. So you will see, unlike last week's video where we were weeding regular like sticky vinyl that is not heat transferable, it did not have a carrier sheet, and that's why we had to use the transfer tape to transfer the image onto the boxes that we made. This time, because it's heat transfer vinyl, it automatically comes with a carrier sheet, and you're gonna see that once we start to weed this out. Again, I like to always start in the corner because there's less likely to be any of my design there. And then I start pulling this away. And then I can also just start pulling with my hands, and you'll start to see our image revealed. So I know this is really wasteful. Like, look at all of this vinyl that I wasted. So again, like I showed you earlier on the computer, you could just leave it the way it originally was going to cut, but you'll see when we go to heat press this that it makes a big difference having it like this laid out. So the next thing is looking in the middle, because these letters don't have any like center items. You'll notice that the flowers do. There's just a little circle in the center. So for something like that, that is really good to have something a bit more precise. And then that's how that comes into handy. Okay, so this is done. When I pull this off the Cricut mat, you will see, here we are. This is your carrier sheet. This is sticky, so be careful. This is sticky. So when you, that's why you have to mirror it, because when you flip it around, that's when you'll see the letters correctly. And this is how you will put it face down on the shirt. So I'm going to keep weeding and then leave this face up. And to make it easier on myself, I'm just going to go ahead and lay it back on that Cricut mat to make it easier to transport. And I'll take it off downstairs when I go to the heat press. From here on out, I'll just continue weeding. Okay, so now we are ready to heat press. This is my heat press. If you watch the previous video where I talked about what you need and what supplies you would need, I talked about the various options, like something you can get on Amazon, an actual heat press like this. This is on the cheaper end of a nice brand called Stalls. Or you can do something like an easy press. I talked about all those options. So if you're interested in something more in depth, please make sure to go back and watch that episode. But right now we're just going to go forward with using this heat press because it offers the heat and the pressure that you need to like really adhere the heat transfer vinyl onto the shirt. So I have mine set at about 315 degrees. That's pretty standard for a lot of HTV. I am using Caesar brands, Easy Weed vinyl. That's why it was pretty easy to weed it out. Other brands might be a little bit more tricky to weed it out. And again, it's always going to depend on the complexity of the design itself. I will have everything linked below, including the Caesar Easy Weed. Another big thing when you're choosing your type of HTV that you use is if it's like a warm peel or a cool peel. And what that means is when you go to peel it off, do you have to wait for it to cool down first? So that's why another reason why I really love Caesar Easy Weed is because you can do it when it's still hot. You can go ahead and pull it. Okay, so the shirts I'm using are from AJ Blank's Hopefully you know this brand, the best brand. This is from Angela Jasmina, who does embroidery, if you don't already, and all kinds of things. If you don't already watch her channel on YouTube, she's amazing. Her brand, like, this is nice and thick because these shirts are meant for embroidery first and foremost, so they're nice and thick because they can handle the thread and the needles and everything. This is not sponsored or anything. I'm just like, honestly, this is the best. And then because they're like little girl shirts, like they have these little puff sleeves, so it's just a nice little touch. It makes it look really cute. So whenever I can, these are the shirts that I like to use whenever I make something for my girls. So first things first, because they come folded, you have these fold lines. I'm old school. I like to iron everything anyways. And plus you want to go ahead and heat up the material. So the first thing you're going to do is just heat press it for a couple seconds, like wherever it is that you want the design to go. Also very important to note, you'll see on my heat press, I have this here. This is a Teflon sheet. Now remember I mentioned in the last video about how you need a Teflon sheet. That's really going to come in handy. For this step right here, for just heating it up, you don't need it. But in the future, you'll see very soon it's going to come in handy. These are magnets. I just use very strong magnets to attach the Teflon sheet to my heat press because it is metal. This is hot, so I'm not going to touch it. So that way I don't have to keep laying the Teflon sheet in between. Now, if you don't do that, if you have an easy press or something where you can't use the magnets to attach it, then you will have to just use a Teflon sheet like this. That's free. This is the same thing. And you would just have to like lay it down in between layers. Basically, once you put some HTV on here, if you go ahead and you layer or you're doing multiple colors like we're about to do, and you put this on without a Teflon sheet, you're going to mess up your heat press. It's going to get stuck there. It's going to melt. So don't do that. Always use a Teflon sheet because it can handle the heat. This is the same thing you would use, like, say, on your grill. Same thing. So it's good for both. So then you would just take this and press it. I like to do it anyway because it protects the material of the shirt in case the bottom of your platen or this heat press is dirty for some reason. Then this Teflon sheet will protect it. So I just keep mine on there so I don't even have to worry about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and press that down. Give it at least 5-6 seconds. Sometimes I go the whole 15 seconds just to like truly heat it up and get the wrinkles out and get some of that moisture out as well. Okay. And of course, like I said, the wrinkles. Okay, so this is where you have to be careful because we're doing multiple layers. So usually you want at least a good 15 seconds of heat plus pressure to put your heat transfer vinyl on. Because we're doing multiple colors, so this is what's called layering. Even though I don't physically mean in this case that I'm layering one color on top of the other, which you can do to a certain extent. In this case, we're not specifically layering them on top of each other, but we're still layering because we're doing multiple layers of HTV, and you'll see. But the one that I want to start off with is the one that takes the most space, that kind of holds the space the most. So in this case, it's going to be that glitter HTV. This color right here, especially because this is the first letter. If you remember our design, I took a picture of the screen on my phone, so I'll show you. Our design was like that. So I replaced the orange with this glitter HTV. So that I is the first letter, that Y is the last letter on the first row. So that's really going to help me frame it. So I'm going to start with this and go that way. So first I do need to take it off of the cutting mat. And remember, this is sticky, so make sure it doesn't like stick onto itself. So just be careful. Okay. Another thing that you can do is, if you know that this is how wide it is, you can sort of fold it in half and get the middle point. That's really good when you're first starting off. And then you can also fold the shirt in half, press it, so then you have a fold line so you can stay true to the middle. You can also get those like sizing things. A good rule of thumb is like using fingers from the collar, and it depends on how big the shirt is, but usually around 2 to 3 finger widths from the collar edge is where you want the top of your image to be. And of course, it's going to go to personal preference as well. So what is great is because this sticks, it helps you kind of visualize a little bit more. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll lift it up, especially when it sticks very nicely like that. and just kind of visualize it and say, okay, you know what, that's a little crooked, I can move it, or I can move it up some. In this case, I definitely want to move it up some. And you really want to make sure that it is even and it is straight, because every other layer is going to follow this one. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to put it back down. Now, because we are layering, meaning I'm going to do another layer of HTV after this one, and I'm actually doing 2 more layers of HTV after this. I don't want to press it for the full 15 seconds. The reason is because you get some shrinkage once you lay this down and it stays for so long. So the longer you lay it down, the more it may shrink, and it's going to throw off like your measurements here, especially because this is already kind of pre-measured out. So really what I can do with this Caesar Easy Weed is I can go ahead and press it for about 5-6 seconds. That's what I would usually do. And then go ahead and take it off. My heat press, you can't see, it's out of frame, but I have like a little countdown clock here, so I see when it's been that long. And because this is Caesar Easy Weed, I can go ahead and pull it now, versus other brands, I would have to let it cool down. Just be careful because it's hot. And then always go slow. Don't just rip it off, because you might mess up. I've done that in the past. So just go slow, be patient with it. If you see anything, oh, prime example, you would think I did this on purpose. This did not stick. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set that right back down. And give it another press. Okay, so we're going to be careful with that one because it started to come back up again. Let's see if the other ones do it. Okay. Maybe after it gets pressed a bunch more times, it'll be fine, but we will check on it. Okay, once you get that off, this is done. You don't need this anymore. This was the carrier sheet. See how you can physically see it now? It carried it here, and that's why we didn't need transfer tape. This essentially serves as the transfer tape. Okay, so now we're going to take our next one, which I wanted to go ahead with the light pink, because that's the next letter after the I in that first row. And so I just want to carefully place this where it needs to go. Now, because of that like shrinkage, you might get sometimes where it doesn't fit the way you wanted it to originally, the way it was supposed to. In that case, that's when you really want to use those non-stick scissors and go ahead and cut it, and then just place each thing individually if you have to. I think this F is probably a little bit, I mean, it's supposed to be wavy. It's probably not exactly how I want it, but not to the point where I want to sit here and cut everything. So I'm going to leave it as is. And I don't have to pick it up and like view it because I've already set it with that first layer. Again, we're only going to try and press for about 5 or 6 seconds. So this one, I had the feeling, because my scraps are all kind of mixed in my bin. When I was weeding, this one felt a little tougher, and I had the feeling this was not Caesar Easy Weed, and it was probably a Cricut brand. If you didn't watch the last video, I'm sorry, Cricut, I love you. I don't love your vinyl. 1, it's not as easy to weed it out, and 2, it's not a warm peel, so you actually have to wait for it to cool down a bit before you can peel it off. And I can tell by the way this was starting to pucker when I was pulling this one. So I'm going to kind of go like this, let it cool down a bit before I peel. Oh, that end does not want to come off at all. So we're just going to go ahead and press it again. Crafts are always a bit of trial and error, no matter how many years you've been doing something. And then sometimes like that, you just kind of got to nudge it and guide it. it'll get some more heat time with the last layer anyway. It should straighten out some of that puckering. Okay, on for my last layer. See how this is Caesar, this purple? Look how it just came off like nothing. I may still have trouble at that letter N in the pink. Just a bit. But see how it's gotten better over time. So now that I have all my layers down, I want to go ahead and give it one final press for the full 15 seconds. Okay, and then for really good measure, the best thing to do is to flip it over, heat press it on the back for another full 15 seconds. And there we have it. All done. This pink the glitter pink ended up being darker than kind of I wanted, but I still love that the glitter's on there, especially with the butterfly and the little sparkles. So this is literally just for practice, like for wedding rehearsal. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I think it came out really cute. So I'm gonna go ahead and press the second shirt.